NPC, and I am making my last video of 2025. Oh man, what a hell of a year 2025 has been. Now, usually I wouldn't make a video like this, especially because it's kind of more on the sloppier end. Honestly, past couple videos I've made have been on the sloppier side of things, and that's okay, because I've had quite a few video ideas that we'll just say have been taking longer than expected. I can't go over them too much right now, but I'm hoping within the next month or two, there's about 1 to 2 videos that I've really wanted to get out for a very long time, and I'm thinking I could finally get them done next year. Now, does that mean 2026 is going to be my year? Probably not. Even if everything I want to do goes as planned, I don't really want to see stuff like that. I don't want to... Let me try that again. I don't really see the world or try to visualize it like that, if that makes sense. Hold on, I need to drink water. And I'll give you an example of that. You see, I've had a couple chores that I've wanted to get done for quite a bit of time. For example, I have 3 VCRs and 2 of them are broken, so I need to get those repaired and cleaned up so I can test and digitize more lost media and tapes that have yet to be archived. And it's just something that is taking me forever, so I have been trying to start that process. There's some items I've been wanting to list on eBay for a long time that I just haven't had the chance that I finally did. So that's all stuff that I could have been like, oh, new year, let's do it. But I decided to do them now. And it's annoying because, I can't work on my game or my next YouTube video, which I guess this is a YouTube video, but not like my typical content. But this, overall, this year, a lot has happened. A lot of bad stuff, a lot of dark stuff has happened. I mean, I don't think I need to explain what the hell happened. I think it's painfully obvious with the insanity that is going on. However, if there is one thing I do believe about 2026 is that I do think it will genuinely, overall, be a better year than 2025. In California, at least, 2025 started with fires. So I'm guessing or hoping January is going to be a little better than this year's January, because having fires throughout the whole year throughout the very beginning was not very great. It wasn't very cash money. Let's just put it that way. I was very close to one of them, and I had a very scary moment where I basically found myself not only packing clothes, but packing a bag full of stuff that I want to take with me, because unfortunately I can't take my whole collection with me if the house burns down, right? So there was a moment where when one of the fires was close, being like, wow, what would happen if I just lost everything in the fire right now? And it's gonna sound weird. I didn't really care for much of my stuff. Like, if I lost 99% of my items, or maybe 90%, it would mean little to nothing to me, despite a lot of those items being pretty rare. If I can do it once, I could do it again, and matter of fact, I might be able to do it better a second time. Thankfully, the fire did not get to my house and completely burn it to smithereens. Although there was a guy who lit a palm tree near my house, and that was pretty scary. It's like, wow, was that gonna just be a thing that we would have to deal with? But I think thankfully we have not had that kind of fire country month is over. There hasn't been any record-breaking fires since fucking January that I know of in California, at least. Thank fucking God. I think the wilderness needs a break, and especially a break from, pardon my French, dumbasses going into the woods. Like, I think we need to keep people proximity from, I guess, fucking national parks. Like, what? But anywho, despite all the challenges that happened in 2025, especially the political stuff and AI and all of that, I still feel hopeful that we're actually near the end of a lot of crazy shenanigans. You know, I think there's going to be stuff that will go on for 10, 15, 20 years. Like, who knows how long some of those wars of, like, Ukraine or the Gaza, like, God knows how long that stuff is going to keep going on for. But in terms of America, at least, I think within the next few years, I think you're going to see a better place. And saying that right now, on this very day of 12/28/2025, probably sounds fucking ludicrous, but you know, I'm sure I've said this before somewhere, that you have to remember that pessimism sells. And what does that mean? I learned this from The Psychology of Money, which is probably the best book I've ever read in my life. I think everyone should read it, especially if you're trying to be financially literate. But it said something very interesting. It said pessimism, one of the most important messages I remember hearing is pessimism sells. And what does that really mean? And let me give you an example. Let's say, and this is the example they kind of use in the book, by the way. Not word for word, but close. So let's say I tell you, hey, this stock cock coin, it's gonna splooge up the roof. It's going to the moon, baby. Dude, it's gonna go like tenfold. It's hot, bro. You gotta get on this shit now. So that's you know, that's optimistic, right? Now what if I told you, hey bro, don't even get near this shit. It's gonna just completely fucking dump. It's cooked, bro. Don't it looks good right now, but trust me, in a week from now, bro, it's over. I know some shit, man. Which one of those like sentences I just said sounds more believable? Most people are gonna tell you, if they were presented that question, that the pessimistic answer, the pessimistic sentence is going to be much more believable for the vast majority of people. Why? Because it's probably more realistic. It's more realistic for something to probably go down the shitter than it is to go 10-20-fold. I mean, especially in the world of crypto and shit coins and all that fucking garbage, which, might I add, I have not seen a single like good proper book or like any legit established thing ever tell you to invest in crypto. It is all a scam. I have never, and I mean ever, have seen anything remotely close to being a worthwhile coin besides Bitcoin. And the only reason Bitcoin fucking has tons of crashes and stuff. It fucking fluctuates all the time. It's extremely unreliable. And Bitcoin is the only, and I mean only, coin that has any value. The rest of them might as well just be fucking useless. If I can make a dildo coin and then it gets pumped and dumped, it's like, are you surprised? Like, when is someone gonna make pump and dump coin? Should I just make pump and dump coin just to like prove a point? Like, someone's got to do that just to show you how stupid crypto is. Surely this is gonna make it, man. But anyways, this is not about me complaining about crypto. But my point is pessimism sells. And here's another example. Let's say it's, the late 1940s in Japan, and, Hiroshima fucking just hit, right? Shit absolutely fucking destroyed. Damage beyond belief. Damage beyond belief, right? What Hiroshima did is, words cannot describe what Hiroshima did to Japan, right? I'm talking about, you get what I'm talking about. But this is another thing they brought up in the psychology of money is, let's say you got approached by a reporter or some shit, and they said either A, like hold on, let me make sure I'm structuring this properly. So let's say you're a Japanese citizen and you just survived Hiroshima. Shit's completely destroyed, right? Let's say someone comes up to you and says, the next 40 years, it's over. It's just done. You're cooked. So that's like sentence one. The next sentence is, oh, dude, in the next 40 years, Japan is going to thrive and do extremely well. If you were a citizen during Hiroshima and you heard one of those two, which one are you going to believe more? Keep in mind, Hiroshima, the bomb just fucking did all this damage. So you would think, oh, the one where everything is cooked is more believable. But what actually happened is Japan's economy flourished, and they not only survived that incident, they thrived decades later. Now, they have their other ongoing issues now, and every country does, but they overcame and beat Hiroshima better than anyone could have anticipated. But if you were to go back then and tell people who just experienced that, oh, everything's going to be just fine and better, no one would fucking believe you. Because why would they? Everything is to fucking rubble. But they fucking pulled clutch. And they're in a much better situation. Now, again, they have their aging crisis, but that's a completely different thing. They beat what was arguably unrecoverable. And, right now I think people would say, when it comes to America and the world, that we might be put in an unrecoverable state. And truth be told, I think if I had to guess on my prediction of the future, I think there are things that will just never be the same. And COVID made sure of that, right? At the same time, however, I think I think when we reach 2030, the early 2030s, I think there'll still be shit, especially with AI, but I don't think we'll be in as bad of a place. People like to joke, like, ever since the Harambe incident, we went into like an alternate dimension of shit. And honestly, when I look at all the things that happened, honestly, it's really just bad timing. When I think of the 2020s, my summary, if someone to ask me, what were the 2020s, or at least the first, like late 2010s, early 2020s, bad timing. I think bad timing is a bit of an understatement. You had a global pandemic. In America, you also had basically a whole fucking year of riots across the country. And, there's an understandable reason as to why there was anger and frustration, of course. But it happened during one of the worst pandemics. And it's no wonder it spread like wildfire and killed 2 million people, my grandma included. So it's like that. Usually events like that are the focus center, right? Like back then when the Rodney King stuff was happening, That was like the big focus and something going on in Afghanistan. Here it's like global pandemic, war here, riots there, like everything was happening at once. And when you look at a lot of the things like the George Floyd riots or the wars in Ukraine and, Gaza, for example, these are all separate things, not really related to each other, that have been boiling up for a long time. That's, the George Floyd stuff happened because it wasn't because of the one-time incident. It's because of the multiple instances of injustice, and it was the tip of the iceberg, right? It's just unfortunate. It tipped the moment where it probably shouldn't have, but that's not how life and that's not how people work, And, the 2020s, I think, was just riddled with stuff that was just ready to go off. You know what I mean? And, we're still seeing a lot of damage and repercussions from a lot of that shit, like, undeniably. But at the same time, there's a rainbow at the end of every storm, And problems like COVID, for example, are behind us. But when a problem, here's something I've learned about society. When a problem ends, we don't really celebrate the problem ending. We just kind of complain about the next thing. We're never like, we'll never admit we're in the good times. Because, when I was growing up in the 2010s, for example, I wasn't hearing like, oh, all these cool games, oh, yada, 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 oh, all this stuff is lit. Like, people are like glazing the fuck out of the 2010s. Like, oh yeah, that era was so lit, bro. It's like, what I remember the 2010s, not only was I getting bullied in school, but, you're thinking about like, oh, this person's dying. Oh, all the stuff Obama, blah, blah, blah is doing. Or, oh, this or that. Like, no one, when you're actually present in those decades, it's hard to appreciate what's going good. And I'd say the same thing for the 2020s, despite the 2020s obviously being a much more difficult decade. I'm going on about a lot of random stuff, but I think my point is that people never want to admit that they'll always assume they're in the worst times, you know what I mean? And it doesn't help that you have all these fucking YouTube channels that talk about, oh, everything's terrible, everything's going to shit, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, they might have factual good points about stuff. True, but if that's the only type of content you make, and that's how you see the world, as everything going to shit, you're going to be a miserable person. And the thing is, you're only on this, you hear it all the time, but you're only on this planet for such a short period of time. And you want to spend it, being miserable? Like, yeah, what's going on right now is terrible. Don't get me wrong. But name a decade in the past 100 years where there hasn't been some type of war. Seriously. Almost every decade there has been some type of war, some type of battle. And it's not just it's not just fucking the past 100 years. I mean, it's every if you look at every decade from the past 120 years, from 1900 to now, there has always been some shit. There has always been some really bad and really tough shit, right? Let's not kid ourselves here. Even the 90s, I'd say arguably probably the 90s and 80s were probably the least problematic. Because, the 2000s, you had 9/11, you had like round 2 of all the Afghanistan stuff. Like, So it it's not like times have ever been great. You know, it's easy to be like, oh, I missed the 2010s because of all these dope fucking games, but then this problem you're not taking into consideration is happening. This problem, you know, we forget about all the bullshit we went through and think about only the good stuff when it's happened 10, 20 years ago. But when we're actually in those times, we only think about the crap. Because, you know, the crap that we deal with is real and it's jaw-dropping. But you have to understand also a lot of the situations, a lot of the issues at hand, we have very little to no control over, you know? And like, even if you are someone in a big political position, I think what you can do is more limited than you think, you know? But again, I'm not a politician, so I guess I don't really know what the fuck I'm saying. But, you know, my point is, like, there is always some fucking bullshit. You can name it for every decade. Every decade has it, right? And, you know, and yeah, again, I think you just gotta live the most of your remaining years you have in this world, because your time on this planet's short. 100 years is not really long, you know. And the other thing is, you're gonna lose everything. You're gonna lose all your money. You're gonna lose all your materialistic possessions. You're also gonna lose all the people you love. They might not forget you, but what about 100 years after them? 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million? There's a point where you're just gonna get fucking forgotten about. And that's okay. That's life, you know? Maybe there'll be exceptions, but, you know, I don't think I'm gonna be remembered in 1,000, 10,000 years. I mean, great, I guess, but I'll be fucking dead. so even if I am remembered or not forgotten, or what I didn't get forgotten, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I'm dead. You only get to live sub 100 years of that. You know, some people get to live to 100, but very few. And, you know, maybe by the time I get old, it'll be a lot more 100-year-olds, but even then, technology still takes time and stuff like that. So my point is, do you want to spend all of that being miserable? Do you want to spend all of that time wasted on things that are clearly out of your control and just let them get the most of you? It's good to have opinions on stuff. Don't get me wrong. It is important as an adult to look at controversial situations and have your own opinion, whether controversial or not. But at the same time, most of these issues you can't do shit about. You can't. It's limited with what you can do. You know, obviously, the more the merrier, you know. But it's just, this is where the part of the video where I start sounding like a broken record. But you get my point. So I don't live my life with my head in the sand. You know, I try my best to keep my eyes on the big stuff going on, especially if it's environmental, because, you know, that can be life-threatening. But, you know, at the same time, I think it's important to realistically, like, think about what you can do to better yourself, because I think despite all the crazy bullshit going on, I think we really need to think about ourselves and how we can take care of ourselves. I think doing that would fix so much of our anxiety that we have. Like, you know, for example, I've never had a girlfriend, and I probably won't have one for a while. And realistically, that's probably not a bad thing, because, you know, I'm trying to get my shit together. I work 9 to 5 at a dead-end retail job. You know, And fucking I'm just saying what's off the top of my head because that's kind of how I make these videos. But you know, it's hard for me to go out to date when I barely have time to even hang out with regular friends. And you know, I got passion projects that I work on when on my days off. You know, I have very little room in my life to even give someone time and energy. You know, I'm not even paying fucking rent, and I can barely throw money in my savings or my retirement Roth IRA. You know, I do. I got a little bit in there, but it's like, even if I were to optimally use my money correctly when I'm giving, it's really not that much money to get by stuff. So, you know, so that's why it's like, it's hard for me to want to go out and date, because it's just fuck. And I think many people can relate to that. And you know, that's why I'm trying to put in the time into things like not only the video game I'm making, but YouTube. And you know, going back to the beginning of this video, I think these next two videos are going to be very important for me. I'm not really worried about views, but more just, I guess what I'm worried about the most is just making sure I could stick to my original idea I had for this channel, which was, you know, people watch the content for me, not really the niche or category, you know. I think it's very easy to be locked to a niche. I think it's very easy to be trapped in something. And, you know, these two videos are pretty similar, so I have to be careful in that regard. So we'll see how I pan it out. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to make a video where I get some shit off my chest, just because I'm not really I didn't really make any videos for this month, so I'm kind of making this sloppy toppy. I've been really trying to focus on my game lately, which, you know, things just take so fucking long. But when it comes to the game, we're in a pretty good spot. There's just a lot of foundational things that I've ignored for a very long time, so things are taking extra long just to figure all that fucking crap out. But when those extra things are kind of out of the way, I think development's gonna breeze pretty well. It's just, I'm finally tackling these problems, and I got these two big videos that are well overdue. It's just, there's a lot of things I want to do and make, but there are things that have been waiting a long time to be done and finished. So it's like, take one shit at a time, I guess. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, rest assured, I think at least for me, I want to make sure my 2026 is better than last year. Because unfortunately, I think 2024 was a better year for me, despite not being as far in development. But not every year is going to be a peak, and that's okay. But I think 2026, despite the shit going on, it's not going to be a good year. I don't think it's going to be a good year. We're definitely not out of the slammer yet when it comes to the life shit going on. But I think my 2026 is going to be better than my 2025. And I feel good saying that. I feel confident saying that. Because I think I'm really starting to get my shit more together. It's been hard, but it's been happening. So yeah, that's about it. Unfortunately, in the next 8 minutes, I'll have to go to work. So yeah, I'm going to upload this probably around the 31st, New Year's Eve-ish. And just know, guys, that there's always going to be bullshit going on in the world. There's always going to be crap. And, you know, on top of your personal stuff, on top of this political thing, that political thing. So just know that you live a very short life. You live a very short life. Most of us are going to live under 100 years. So don't be like my grandparents who spent that just getting angry at the news, sitting there getting angry at the news all day, and then developing Alzheimer's and, you know, passing like that. And again, that happens when you get old, but they really didn't do themselves any favors. You know, they sat there, got angry at the world, and had a very slow, painful death. And it doesn't just happen to old people, it happens to young people too. I've seen many of my young friends lose contact with close childhood friends and even family over fucking political garbage. And you know, that might be the reality for some people to get through life, and you're gonna not be attached to everyone, but it's sad to see it when it's related to politics, I guess. Just with how I've lost many people I've loved, and just seeing politics do nothing but hurt people I love, you know, it's hard. So just know you live a very short life. So make the most of it. Don't have your head in the sand, but be realistic with what you can do and what you can accomplish, because that will help your sanity and psychology more than anything else. That's about it. I don't know when I'll make another video like this, but hopefully some big videos coming soon for you guys. Take care, and I'll see you soon.